What if I told you that one single decision made behind closed doors at John Deere's headquarters has just sent shockwaves through the entire $34 billion US farming industry? Farmers, investors, and even global competitors are scrambling to make sense of it because this isn't just another corporate announcement. This is a move that could completely rewrite the future of American agriculture, disrupt decades of tradition, and force every farming family in the country to rethink how they do business. John Deere, the green giant that has been the backbone of US farming for generations, has just unleashed a bold strategy that no one saw coming, and the ripple effects are already being felt across cornfields in Iowa, wheat farms in Kansas, and dairy operations in Wisconsin. The CEO's gamble is massive, risky, and potentially game-changing, and if it works, it could put Deere so far ahead of the competition that catching up might be impossible. But if it fails, it could be the start of a dangerous unraveling for America's most iconic farming brand. And Wall Street investors are eating it up. Deere's stock is buzzing as analysts claim this move could transform Deere from being just a machinery company into the Apple of agriculture, generating recurring revenue streams worth billions from data and software. But that comparison to Apple is also exactly what has farmers worried. Just like your iPhone locks you into the Apple ecosystem, Deere's closed system could trap entire farms into a model where the farmer doesn't fully own or control the equipment they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on. That's why farmer coalitions and even lawmakers are already sounding the alarm, saying this bold move could spark the biggest showdown in farming history, pitting big ag tech against the very farmers who put food on America's tables. And here's where it gets even more explosive. Deere isn't making this move alone. Whispers are spreading that the company has quietly struck deals with Silicon Valley giants, bringing in AI and cloud computing partners who see farming as the next trillion-dollar frontier. This isn't just about tractors anymore, this is about turning farmland into data gold mines, and the fight over who controls that data could ignite a war unlike anything agriculture has ever seen. During that strategy meeting, Deere's CEO laid it out in a way that stunned both sides of the industry. He described a future where every John Deere machine on American soil becomes a data engine, constantly feeding information back to a centralized platform. Soil health, crop performance, fuel usage, even the precise GPS coordinates of every farming operation, all of it collected, stored, and analyzed in real time. For investors, it sounded like a gold rush. Data, after all, is the new oil, but for farmers sitting in that room, the announcement spec out. Here's the thing, this isn't just about operational efficiency. Deere's CEO made it crystal clear that the company's long-term vision is to transition farmers from equipment owners to technology subscribers. No more buying a tractor outright and keeping it for decades. Instead, farmers would pay recurring fees to access advanced features, precision planting tools, and AI-driven decision-making systems. For Deere, it's a guaranteed revenue stream worth billions. But for farmers already struggling with high debt, volatile crop prices, and skyrocketing input costs, it feels like another financial chokehold, and the reaction immediate and divided. Some progressive farmers, especially younger ones, see the promise of hands-off farming, where machines do the heavy lifting and data drives better profits. But many traditionalists, who still repair their tractors with their own hands and rely on generations of hard-earned knowledge, feel betrayed. To them, this bold move isn't innovation, it's colonization of their livelihoods. The fear is simple: if Deere controls the tools, the data, and the tech, then who really controls the farm? And while farmers wrestle with that question, Deere's CEO has quietly been preparing for the backlash. He hinted at a new program that could reshape the political and regulatory landscape, a program so controversial that Washington insiders are already whispering it could spark hearings, lawsuits, and even government intervention if it goes forward. That program, unveiled in hushed tones during the CEO's presentation, is being referred to internally as Farm Forward. On paper, it looks like a lifeline. Deere promises to partner with farmers by offering financing packages, subscription bundles, and long-term service agreements designed to make the transition to autonomous farming affordable. But when you peel back the layers, critics say it's less of a lifeline and more of a leash. Instead of paying off equipment and owning it outright, farmers would be tied to Deere's subscription ecosystem indefinitely. Cancel the subscription and suddenly features like autonomous navigation, real-time diagnostics, or here's where things start heating up in Washington. Lawmakers from farming states, already under pressure from rural constituents, are watching this unfold with alarm. A handful of senators have hinted that Farm Forward could cross into dangerous antitrust territory, effectively cornering farmers into one tech monopoly. Whispers of congressional hearings are growing louder, and some farmer advocacy groups are preparing lawsuits arguing that Deere's model strips away not just ownership, but also generational independence. After all, what happens when a farm that's been in a family for 100 years can't operate without paying a tech subscription fee to a corporation? Meanwhile, Wall Street analysts are spinning it differently. They see this as a masterstroker, guaranteed, recurring revenue model in an industry historically plagued by cyclical ups and downs. For investors, Deere isn't just selling tractors anymore. It's transforming farmland into a perpetual money machine. The CEO even compared the strategy to how streaming services revolutionized entertainment, calling it the Netflix of farming. That line drew applause from shareholders, but groans and clenched jaws from farmers who already feel trapped by seed and chemical giants. And just when it seemed like the controversy couldn't get any bigger, leaked reports suggest Deere has already inked pilot deals with several mega farms in the Midwest, quietly testing this subscription-based model behind the scenes. Those farms are reporting dramatic efficiency gains, fueling Deere's case. But smaller family farmers fear this is the beginning of a two-tiered system: industrial giants who thrive under Deere's ecosystem, and small independent farms slowly squeezed out of existence. What makes this even more suspenseful is the global angle. Deere CEO hinted that Farm Forward isn't just about America, it's about positioning Deere, the dominant force in global agriculture, before competitors from China and Europe can catch up. And that global push could set off an international showdown that farmers here at home never saw coming. According to insiders, Deere's international play is nothing short of aggressive. The CEO revealed plans to roll out autonomous farming hubs in South America, Africa, and Asia regions where agriculture is expanding at breakneck speed. The idea is to lock in entire nations before rivals like China's XAEG or Europe's Fendt can stake their claims. By embedding Deere's software-driven farming systems directly into these markets, the company isn't just selling tractors, it's exporting an entire farming infrastructure that would keep foreign farmers tethered to Deere's ecosystem for decades. But here's the catch: US farmers are starting to notice a troubling pattern. While Deere is pouring billions into building partnerships overseas, many American farmers feel they're being left behind, forced into expensive new systems without the same subsidies or incentives that international customers are rumored to be getting. For some, it feels like the backbone of American farming is being sacrificed in exchange for global dominance. And this tension is beginning to boil over. Rural town halls across the Midwest have seen farmers venting their frustrations, warning that if Deere continues down this path, it could spark a modern-day farming rebellion. Already, independent repair groups and grassroots organizations are uniting under the Right to Repair banner, determined to push back against Deere's closed systems. Their message is simple: farmers deserve the right to control, repair, and truly own their equipment without corporate strings attached. But here's where things get even more suspenseful. Deere's CEO isn't backing down. In fact, leaked documents suggest the company is preparing to launch an entirely new line of AI-powered micro-tractors and drones designed to appeal to small-scale farmers worldwide. If that rollout succeeds, Deere could cement its position as the global leader in autonomous farming. But if it backfires, it could deepen the divide at home, sparking lawsuits, protests, and even government intervention on a scale Deere has never faced before. And just when everyone thought this was strictly an agricultural issue, whispers are emerging that the White House itself is keeping a close eye on Deere's moves. Some insiders suggest the administration fears this bold strategy could give one corporation too much power over America's food supply chain, and that raises a chilling question. What happens when feeding America depends on the subscription model of one private company? Behind the scenes in Washington, conversations are growing tense. Policy advisors are warning lawmakers that if Deere consolidates too much control, the U.S. food supply could become dangerously vulnerable. Imagine a future where a cyber attack, a system crash, or even a corporate pricing decision disrupts farming across the country. That's not science fiction, it's a very real possibility critics are raising. And it has some officials calling Deere's bold push a national security risk disguised as innovation. Already, committees tied to agriculture and technology are quietly drafted, Wall Street sees a different picture entirely. Hedge funds and investment banks are pouring money into Deere stock, betting that the subscription farming model will skyrocket profits. Some analysts are even whispering that Deere's strategy could inspire a wave of consolidation, where other giants in seed, fertilizer, and irrigation jump on the same model, creating a farm-to-table monopoly ecosystem controlled by just a handful of corporations. If that happens, independent farming as we know it could shrink into a niche, replaced by industrialized, corporate-controlled agriculture. And Deere's competitors? They're not sitting idle. Word is spreading that CNH Industrial, AGCO, and even emerging Chinese players are preparing countermoves, some promising open-source platforms, others offering cheaper, more repair-friendly equipment to lure frustrated farmers. If Deere's gamble succeeds, rivals may be forced to mimic the model just to survive. But if it fails, those rivals could swoop in and capture the loyalty of farmers desperate for an alternative. Meanwhile, on the ground, farmers themselves are organizing. Across states like Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri, farmer cooperatives are discussing boycotts and exploring co-op-owned autonomous equipment projects as a way to break free from corporate overreach. Some are even working with tech startups to design independent software that could be retrofitted into existing Deere machines. And underground resistance that Deere's executives are said to be watching nervously. The tension is reaching a boiling point, and insiders claim the CEO is preparing a major announcement at the next agricultural expo, one that could either calm the storm or ignite a firestorm unlike anything Deere has faced in its 186-year history. Rumors suggest this announcement might include new partnerships with tech giants like Amazon or Microsoft, which would take Deere's ecosystem to a level no farmer, no regulator, and no rival has ever seen before. Those rumors point to something almost unthinkable: a John Deere alliance with big tech. Whispers inside Silicon Valley suggest that Deere has been in advanced talks with Microsoft and Amazon to integrate their cloud and AI platforms directly into farming operations. What does that mean in practice? Picture farms where planting schedules, irrigation, pest control, and even harvesting aren't decided by the farmer's experience, but by predictive models running in a server farm thousands of miles away. To Deere CEO, this is the pinnacle of efficiency. Smab it to many farmers, it feels like the end of an era. If these partnerships come to life, the farmer's role could shrink from decision maker to system operator, following instructions generated by algorithms. And once again, the question looms: who really owns the farm? The family that's worked the land for generations, or the corporations controlling the data streams? This is where the final straw argument emerges. Critics fear that if Deere fuses its dominance in machinery with big tech's dominance in data and cloud computing, it could create a monopoly so powerful that no farmer or even government could break free from it. Adding fuel to the fire, leaked slides from an internal presentation suggest Deere envisions creating a global farming cloud, where data from millions of acres across multiple continents feeds into one unified system. On paper, that could mean breakthroughs in sustainability, food production, and climate resilience. But skeptics warn it could also mean corporate surveillance at a scale farming has never seen, where the most intimate details of a farm's operations are no longer private property, but corporate assets. And here's where things get truly explosive. Some insiders claim that Deere's leadership has already pitched this vision to Washington as part of a national food security strategy, framing their dominance not as a threat, but as a shield against foreign competition. That move could give Deere powerful political cover, making it far harder for regulators to rein them in. Meanwhile, farmers are bracing themselves. Some talk about walking away from Deere altogether. Others are preparing to fight in court, rallying around lawsuits aimed at protecting the right to farm in the digital age. And as this clash between innovation and independence heats up, the farming world is holding its breath, waiting for the CEO's big reveal at that upcoming expo. Insiders say the stage is being set for something dramatic at that expo. Deere's CEO is expected to step into the spotlight and unveil what he's calling the farm of 2030. This won't just be a new tractor or a line of equipment, it's being described as a complete ecosystem package, bundled hardware, software, cloud services, and financing all tied together in one contract. The pitch: farmers won't just be buying machines. They'll be buying a future-proof farming system that promises record-breaking yields and minimal waste. But here's where the tension sharpens. Leaked drafts of the presentation hint that the system will come with tiered access plans: basic, premium, and enterprise, just like Netflix or Spotify, except this isn't entertainment, it's farming. The basic tier gives you access to equipment and core tools. Premium unlocks AI-driven analytics and precision planting features. Enterprise offers full integration with satellite monitoring, drone fleets, and real-time global market recommendations. To Wall Street, it's genius. To farmers, it's terrifying. Imagine standing in your own field, but knowing you can't access the best tools to maximize your harvest unless you pay a higher monthly fee. And here's the twist that could set the room on fire. Deere's CEO is rumored to announce a loyalty clause. Farmers who sign up for the Farm of 2030 ecosystem will receive steep upfront discounts on equipment, but only if they commit to keeping their farm locked into Deere's system for a minimum of 10 years. That clause is being described by critics as nothing short of digital sharecropping, where farmers risk becoming tenants on land they own, bound by corporate contracts rather than free to operate independently. Meanwhile, farmer advocacy groups are already planning protests. Outside the expo, word has spread through social media channels that convoys of tractors are preparing to roll into the city, carrying banners that read, "Our farms, our freedom." The showdown is shaping up to be more than a corporate launch. It could become a national spectacle, a turning point in the fight for who controls America's agricultural future. On paper, the possibilities sound groundbreaking. Farmers could, in theory, predict market demand before planting, sell their crops directly through Amazon's massive distribution network, and access financing faster than ever. Deere's CEO will likely frame it as a revolution that eliminates inefficiencies, connects farmers to global buyers, and ensures America maintains its agricultural dominance. But here's the dark side. Critics fear this move could hand unprecedented control of the U.S. food chain to just corporations John Deere and Amazon. The thought alone has sent shockwaves through rural America, where trust in big tech is already shaky at best. Even more unsettling is what this means for farmer independence. If Deere controls the machines and Amazon controls the data and distribution channels, where does that leave the farmer? Some analysts are already calling it the Uberization of farming, where growers no longer own their own destiny, but instead operate at the mercy of corporate algorithms that decide what gets planted, how it gets grown, and who it gets sold to. And Washington is paying close attention. Insiders claim the Department of Agriculture, even the Department of Justice, are preparing to scrutinize any official announcement, worried that such a partnership could violate antitrust laws or, worse, create a food supply monopoly with national security implications. Yet for investors and corporate giants, the announcement could trigger a frenzy, opening the floodgates for billions in new funding, partnerships, and global expansion. Meanwhile, farmers are bracing themselves. Many see this as the breaking point, the moment where the fight for the soul of American farming will either ignite a movement or fade into corporate control. Across the Midwest, farmer co-ops are already mobilizing, planning lawsuits, and rallying in numbers not seen in decades. And when that CEO walks onto the stage with Amazon's logo glowing behind him, the farming world may never be the same again. Already, preparations are underway for what could be the fiercest backlash Deere has ever faced. Farmer unions are drafting emergency resolutions, and independent cooperatives are coordinating a massive protest campaign timed to the very day of the expo. Reports suggest that convoys of tractors will line highways, small-town rallies will spill into state capitals, and online campaigns will flood social media with one clear message: we won't be owned. Rival companies are also sharpening their knives. ACO, NC, and H Industrial are rumored to be fast-tracking announcements of their own, teasing open platform alternatives that promise farmers more freedom, more repair rights, and fewer subscription shackles. In fact, some insiders claim these rivals are quietly funding farmer advocacy groups, hoping to weaponize the backlash against Deere as a way to win market share. The farming industry is turning into a battlefield not of plows and seeds, but of data, contracts, and control. And lawmakers? They're split down the middle. Senators from farm states are under enormous pressure to defend their constituents. Some are drafting bills to enshrine the right to repair and own into federal law, while others are calling for a full antitrust investigation into Deere's tech pivot. Behind the scenes, lobbyists are flooding Washington with millions in campaign donations, determined to sway the outcome of this fight. If the CEO goes through with the Amazon partnership announcement, Capitol Hill could erupt in hearings within weeks, but here's the twist: Deere's leadership may already be anticipating this. Leaked memos suggest the company is preparing a farmer loyalty incentive program, offering subsidies, exclusive financing, and even promises of profit sharing on data revenue to the first wave of adopters. In other words, while farmers are gearing up to fight, Deere is preparing to divide them, luring some with shiny promises while others resist. That division could shatter farming unity at the very moment they need it most. And hovering over all of this is a chilling possibility. If Deere and Amazon successfully roll out their plan, smaller farmers who refuse to join may find themselves shut out of future markets, unable to compete with farm of 2030 adopters whose yields and profits soar under AI-driven efficiency. That fear alone could force many reluctant farmers to sign up, not because they want to, but because they can't afford not to. The stakes have never been higher, and as the date of the expo draws closer, it feels less like a product launch and more like the opening salvo of a war that will decide the future of farming in America. The day of the expo dawns with an almost electric tension hanging in the air. Thousands of farmers, investors, journalists, and industry insiders converge on the convention center, their expectations split between awe and anger. Outside, a sea of tractors lines the streets. Farmers from across the Midwest have driven in convoys, forming a green and yellow blockade to make their voices heard. Handmade signs wave above the crowd: "Our land, our rules, no farms, no freedom, and stop the digital takeover." The hum of engines mixes with chants as security scrambles to contain the growing unrest. Inside, it's a different scene. The hall is sleek, futuristic, lit with neon greens and towering digital screens displaying Deere's iconic leaping Deere logo. Investors sip coffee in tailored suits, tech executives murmur with excitement, and Wall Street analysts clutch notepads, ready to report on what could be a multi-billion-dollar breakthrough. The air is thick with anticipation, and then, as the lights dim, a hush falls across the room. The stage glows with an otherworldly green, and Deere CEO steps into the spotlight. He pauses, looking out at a divided crowd. Applause from investors, glares from farmers. His voice booms: "Today, we do not just unveil a machine. Today, we unveil the future of farming itself." The massive screen behind him flickers to life, revealing sleek renderings of autonomous tractors, swarms of planting drones, and digital dashboards streaming real-time farm data. The words "Farm of 2030" flash across the screen in bold letters. The presentation builds like a spectacle. He showcases the tiered subscription model, touting flexibility and scalability. He highlights the AI-driven precision tools promising unprecedented efficiency. The audience watches, some nodding in awe, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Then comes the bombshell, the announcement of the Amazon Web Services partnership. The hall erupts. Investors leap to their feet in thunderous applause, while farmers in attendance shout protests that echo through the chamber. Security edges closer to the stage as tension spills over. Outside, word of the partnership spreads like wildfire. Farmers' protests intensify, horns blare, chants grow louder, and news crews scramble to capture the historic moment. Some farmers vow to cut ties with Deere immediately, while others are torn, recognizing the enormous advantages the new system might bring. The divide is no longer hypothetical, it's unfolding in real time.